What happened to me seems so long ago now. I've been wondering, are people still having the same type of experience I had? Are people going through the dark night of the soul? Are people in their dark night and they don't know it? There's a lot of information out there about spiritual awakening, but not about what it takes to get there. Here are some explanations I found of a dark night of the soul. An extremely difficult and painful period in one's life caused by a death, illness, catastrophe, or a huge disappointment. A spiritual crisis in the journey towards union with God. I love that one. It's an initiation taking you from one phase of life to another. You may go through several in a lifetime. And here's one from Eckhart Tolle, my favorite teacher. It's a collapse of a perceived meaning of life. Nothing makes sense anymore. It's an eruption in your life of a deep sense of meaninglessness. I can attest to all of the above. During this time, I had what's called an awakening experience, and mine was what I believed to be a Kundalini awakening, or it was at least part of it. So, what is a Kundalini awakening? According to Tantra, Kundalini energy rests like a coiled serpent at the base of the spine. When this dormant energy flows freely upward through the 7 chakras, which are energy centers, it leads to an expanded state of consciousness. Sensations of energy moving or trapped within certain parts of the body, often involving the chakra points. This process may become in some way visible to the experiencer. The energy feels unbearably strong or painful, often accompanied by shaking, jerking, or spasms. Mine was just waves of energy, and sometimes it felt so heavy, and sometimes even accompanied by dread and fear. Kundalini awakening is an intense psychophysical experience that is rarely recognized and often mistaken for psychosis. When things started happening for me, like over 10 years ago, I wasn't practicing Kundalini yoga or any other practice. I didn't even know what Kundalini was. I was just working a lot and I was very into fitness. Somehow my Kundalini began waking up, although I didn't know this at the time. It was a very mysterious time of my life. I will say it's a wonderful and a very painful experience, and not for the faint of heart. Your perception of everything completely shifts into a new awareness. For many of us, it's very spiritual, and we have a new or renewed connection with God. We're ready to change our life and the world, but here comes the tough part. The 3D matrix that we live in is not ready. On top of that is any fallout from your past decisions, choices, and actions that need to be cleaned up, and this takes time. It can take a lot of time. You're ready to soar, but you're still grounded. We've been tossed about in the cosmic sea, yet are still here in this matrix. Until you find your place, you're torn between what feels like 2 worlds. Some commit wholly to the spiritual world and have very little connection to earth, shall we say. Some might decide 3D is easier and try and stay there, although I imagine that would be the hardest route. I choose the middle path, the sweet spot. Some call it being in the world, but not of the world. This is the soul's journey. All our suffering is held in the soul. At one point, I was receiving a lot of messages and guidance through music. I still do. And I know many do. I would wake up to a song clearly playing in my head. And this one time it was the lyrics, "I've never seen a soul so in despair." When I heard that, I was so defensive and I felt insulted. I'm like, what? My soul is not in despair. But I soon found out that it was. The soul cries out for the spirit to answer. We are spirit. We are Christ consciousness. We have been overtaken by conditioning, indoctrination, our ego, and trauma that lives in our DNA. But our spirit is more powerful. It is the truth of who we are. Let me know in the comments if this sounds like you. Did you go through a dark night of the soul, or are you in one? Are you waking up? Did you wake up without having to go through the fire? If so, how did it happen? If you're now in the thick of it, hang in there. Just take it day by day and trust the process. Find things that ground you and give you comfort. It's hard interacting with others when we're going through this process. At least it was for me. If you're having challenges, this transformation could be the reason why. We have to be honest with ourselves and dig deep. We have to be willing to get whatever help we might need. It might take a great leap of faith. We just manage the best that we can. We take it day by day. Do some of you look back now and wish you'd done things differently? I know I do, but there's no going back. We have to forgive and move forward. We can only deal with what's happening right now in the present.